here. Hopefully this is coming out live. I've got my phone facing me so you can see the board, and that way it won't flip the text around. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm going out live before I start talking. I've got my laptop here on the go. Okay, cool. Alright, good. It seems to be coming out live. So I've got my laptop, so if I keep on glancing over to the side, it's just because my laptop's there to make sure that I'm still in shot. So, this little live is going to be talking about play, and what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a talk about play, and some things that I consider when I'm playing with dogs, and then I'm going to do a couple of little demos with my two puppies. I'll break in between those. First and foremost, hope everybody is safe and well, and they're looking after themselves, and currently in the UK where we're still on lockdown, so our travel is restricted. We're still able to take our dogs out for a walk, which is a huge part of, certainly for me, keeping peaceful and sane. So I'm managing to keep busy, so that's really, really great. I hope you guys are as well. Thank you those of you that have supported the Jungle Book. I launched that on Monday, and it's been, thank you so much for those of you that have taken the time to share and to join me. I'm really, really looking forward to having you all on board so that I can share with you how I raised my two puppies, Jungle and Hottie. So just to announce as well, the 3 people that signed up from the get-go, and I will win a chaser toy, okay, are Mareike Bartelson from Germany, hopefully I pronounced that right, Natalie Enkelman from Germany as well, 2 Germans, who knew that, and Deborah Steele. So Natalie, Mareike and Deb, I will contact you guys direct to arrange getting you those tug toys, but hopefully we can sort that out imminently, obviously depending on the restrictions, etc. I'm sure I'll be able to get to a post office at some point, so I'll get that sorted. Again, just to remind everybody, if you share the video that I originally posted, you can be eligible to win a giveaway of my supplement Pro Dog Raw Maximus, which is excellent for those of you that do sport and want to keep your dogs in the best possible condition. Excellent, excellent product. So, again, just to reiterate, if you want to join the Jungle Book, I'll put a link in the text after this. Again, it's just, this is a little glimpse into what the content that you're going to get. And I'm going to go through one of the lectures that's in the Jungle Book, which I've done more elaborately and extensively, but to discuss play, then I'm going to go through a little demo, okay? So, play is one of those things that I really, really love to do with my dogs, not only from a training point of view, but a relationship building point of view, and also to create a social bond with them. I also think it's a medium to build confidence within them, to create clarity for different behaviours, impulse control, etc., etc. But also it's a way to really, really connect with them, and that's really, really important for the way in which I train the relationship I want to have with my dogs. I would say that play, and effective play, is a bit of a lost art. If we look at the spectrum of dog training, I think that now it's very common practice to use food to train your dogs, and for me, play skills is something that isn't considered as much. My very good friend Denise Frenzy is currently sharing a series of video lives with her puppy Dice, her fantastic old Tur puppy, and really, really great. Go and have a look at Denise's interaction with her dog, where she talks about how she trains, how she works play skills in with her puppy and all the things that she's doing. I mean, amazing. The people that are sharing at the moment is incredible. Just on the sideline, hopefully you've checked out my latest in Lifting All Ships with Joe Rosie Haffenden and Nando Brown, talking about the pros and cons of those of you that are thinking about going online and social media, etc., and how to deal with it, and something that they've come up with in this time to help people out there. So really, really great. I'm just going to make sure that I'm coming out live, so bear with me. Let me make sure I've still got a connection. Okay, cool. All right, so this lecture is called Points of Pressure, okay? So hopefully you can see that text. Oh, my mind's gone a bit wonky there, but I've done small capsules, never mind. Okay, so points of pressure. So, when I talk about play and how I interact with my dogs, there's a couple of things that I use to describe the play and the way in which they engage with me. The first one is the dog must be committed, okay, to play, okay? And That means they can play on any toy that I pick up and interact with them. Toys are the tools for me, so I need to have the appropriate tool for the task. If I have a ball, it might be appropriate to use in certain circumstances. A chaser toy might be appropriate for the dog. A smaller tug, one that I can throw, etc. I want to have versatility, so my dog has to be able to play on a broad spectrum of toys, but they must do so with commitment, okay? Now, the second thing that I want to create is the dog must interact, okay? And when I say interact, the dog should actively look to engage me within the play. It isn't, hopefully you can see that, hopefully it isn't just a case of the dog having the toy and wanting to win the toy and take it away from me. I want the dog to be both committed to the toy and want to interact with me, and those two things are critical for the way in which I want to play with them, okay? So these are the points of which I'm looking to create with the dog. Now, in my experience, most dogs will play, okay? Most dogs will play in a way. Now, will play in one way, shape or form. And again, I could go into a whole conversation about play and what it is, etc., and all the variations within play. But again, for those of you in the Jungle Book, there's a huge lecture on this specific topic. But I'm going to give you the condensed version, okay? So play obviously is the dog capturing, hunting, pursuing prey, and we need to be thinking about that when we play with our dogs. So we need to be almost capitalising on the little bits that the dog finds exciting, and we can use that to create play, and therefore create play that's committed, and the dog will play on anything, okay? When we're talking about points of pressure, often if dogs will, as I say, most dogs will play, often what can inhibit or hinder the dog's ability to play is the amount of pressure that we put on the dog inadvertently, okay? So if on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, there's a video of me and my little Jack Russell Cross Sugar, when you see one of her first play sessions, where you can see the dog is very, very concerned about me trying to play with her. It doesn't really matter why, I don't really know specifically why she had those inhibitions. I would make confident assessments as to why that is. Possibly she was punished when she grabbed toys, etc. That would be something that she definitely showed a concern about. And she definitely didn't like physical contact when you play with her. So it took me time to build that ability to play with her and be physical with her. And as a result of that, now she plays brilliantly, and we have a very, very strong relationship based on that initial foundation of play and interaction, okay? So in terms of points of pressure, what I need to be mindful of is what I'm doing that could inadvertently put the dog off play. And there's a couple of things. There's 10 in total that I've identified, but I'm going to go over the 5 for you. So the first thing, and this one alludes nicely to the toys that I've just given away, is the type of toy that you use, okay? Now, initially, I would always be mindful of the type of toy I use with the dog. Ideally, these types of toys, okay, so these chaser toys are excellent for creating play driving dogs because they mimic play and they allow you to create distance away from the dog so that you're not invading their space, etc. You can create the motion so it looks like prey, and there's a lot of benefits to these types of toys. So anybody thinking about, if you haven't got one, Touch and Go are the company that have provided that I've got these toys from. They're being very generous at the moment for NHS staff and key workers at I think it's NHS staff if I recall rightly, and doing a very generous discount for those people, so go and support them. Digressing there. But so those toys are really, really great, but you need to think of the toy that the dog finds appropriate. So I've got a couple of others here, okay, that I quite like. So one is a little Hessian tug toy with a little tiny handle so that I can flap that around and make movement. And certainly for Hottie, that's a great one because she could pick that up easily. With the longer toys, obviously it's a bit more cumbersome for her at that age, at her size. So that's a really nice toy. I can throw it, I can tug with it. Again, what tends to happen with this is when it will fall dead and be still. So that, with some dogs, can stifle the dog's interest in the toy because the toy is going to fall dead on the floor. I quite like this little ball and the rope. Again, she's quite into that. I can create motion with it. But with both those toys, because I have to hold it in my hand, that could, depending on the dog, inadvertently place pressure on them. So I need to be a little bit mindful of that. So the type of toy is really important to think of. Think laterally when you're first creating toys, anything goes, okay? So if your dog, for example, likes, like the puppy's she likes toilet rolls or cardboard boxes or plastic bottles, use that to create play with your dog. You know, use it and just to start the ball rolling, okay? Now, long term, I aspire to create plays where my dog will play with anything, but initially, if the dog has one thing that it likes, I tend to hone in on that and build the dog's desire and then want to be committed and interact and then extend it once the dog's confident, okay? So type of toy is a huge one, okay? So, second one is percentage of possession. Okay, so there's a very simple guidance there. So one of my early mentors, anybody that's watching this or knows anything about dog training would have heard of the great Sylvia Bishop. She lives actually not far from here, about half an hour away in Sussex. She has been an absolutely revolutionary figure within the spectrum of dog training, certainly for dog sports. And she was the person that really, for me, articulated how to use play effectively as a medium to teach. So she was very much about making all the lessons a game for the dog. And this was nearly 30 years ago. Before now, it's very common practice to use play as a medium to teach. And certainly, when she started the concept of using play as a medium to teach, it was very much the taboo thing. And you know, she tells the story of how it all started with one particular dog that she had an off-carpet mat, carpet that they were laying in her home, and it was all out on her lawn, and she went to pick it up, and one of her dogs grabbed it, and she sort of tried to snatch it off the dog, and that's inspired the moment from which she then built all her subsequent training. So she was really a pioneer for the concept of using play as a medium. You're talking probably 40 plus years ago, and how she used it as a medium. She has a little very simple phrase that to me really articulates this concept of percentage of possession. She says, okay, for a certain point of percentage of the game, the dog has it. Okay, for a certain percentage of the play, you have it. And a certain percentage of the play, you both have it, okay? So you share it. And so the gist is, I have it, you have it, we share it. And that, depending on the level of confidence within the dog or the strength of the dog, you would alter the percentage. So if I had a very soft dog, I would allow the dog to have it more. If I had a dog that was stronger, I could probably have it more myself. And depending on the dog's confidence, how much I would let the dog have it, and we would have physical contact together. That simple guidance of I have it, you have it, we share it, is a great little mantra to remind yourself to make sure that you allow the dog to have the toy. Often when people play with their dogs, and which inevitably causes their dogs not to want to play, is they want to take the toy off the dog too readily. A key thing to train informal play retrieve, where the dog will drive it back, is to, when the dog brings it back to you, don't just dive in and snatch at the toy. That's one of the cardinal sins for me. When I'm building play, I don't just grab at the toy initially because I want the dog to want to engage with me and bring it to my person. If the dog has gone out and picked up the toy and I dive in it straight away, that is going to put the dog off play potentially, or certainly what they do is they learn to keep away from you. So remember those simple rules. I have it, you have it, we share it. Okay, really simple. Okay? So, type of toy that you use, consider the type of toy that you use that's appropriate for your dog. Percentage of play is a huge one, yeah? I have it, you have it, we share it. Third thing is, okay, proximity to your body. Okay? So, that means, okay, not all dogs want to play close to you, and the reason is because they're concerned, there might be a level of apprehension or concern that you are going to take the toy off them. So because we want our dogs to essentially want to possess the toy, yeah, and they want to win the toy, and therefore eventually train to earn the toy, the dog has to want to possess the toy, which then means that it can create with them reluctance to bring it close to you. So having your dog be comfortable with coming close to you is a really important skill that you need to develop. So when my dog has the toy, I like to encourage them to come back to them again, that I have it, you have it, we share it rule. But I don't dive in at them, and I like to have them close to me. I like to fuss them, touch their body, touch them, have them sit on my lap, stroke them with the toy, etc. And if anything, I'll try and push them away and see if they'll drive back for the physical interaction with them as opposed to me touching the toy. So these tracer toys are great for allowing the dog to come closer to you and then almost allowing the dog to pull the toy away from you and get to a point of where they're comfortable. making sure that you're aware of how close the dog is, and what you will see is the dog may let go of the toy or get more growly, or the dog might get concerned, or the grip might weaken on the toy if you bring them too close. Anybody here anybody that's watching done any form of bite work will understand that how fundamental proximity can be to creating confidence within your dog's play. That also leads me to the fourth point, which is eye contact. Okay? So, often when people play with their dogs, they want to stare at their dogs intently to observe what the dog's doing. If you have a dog that is lacking confidence, eye contact in itself can be a point of pressure. If you're staring and glaring at the dog, certainly with Sugar, that was something that she would take as quite offensive. So I had to do lots of glances away. So I would look at my peripheral vision, I would look at 45 degrees at the dog, and so I could see her over here, but I wouldn't make direct eye contact with her. Or I would look down on the ground and the dog would be over here. So again, the chaser toy is great for being able to observe her body using my peripheral vision, but not into the point where I'm staring directly at her. That can often put dogs off. Dogs, again, are masters of body language. Things like the closeness to your body and eye contact can be lots of pressure on them. It can really put them off. So we need to be mindful. Some dogs generally aren't bothered. I would say certainly Hottie isn't concerned about eye contact. Jungle, not really either. But certainly proximity of body would be something I've had to work out with definitely with Jungle, because she wants to possess the toy and bag it and move away from it, which she still has a tendency to do. It's a work in progress, so I'm constantly reinforcing her coming closer to me. Hottie is much more naturally cuddly, so she's happy to bring it closer, whereas Jungle tends to want to remain off, and almost she likes the activity and the fight of the play, really, rather than the tugging. That's just who she is. So, just to recap before I move on to the fifth point. So, type of toy that you use, consider that. Percentage of possession. Remember the rule, I have it, you have it, we share it, and play around with those so that it's appropriate for your dog and for you, okay? Proximity to your body. Trying to play too closely in a hula hoop around your body can be pressure to your dog. You want to be mindful of that, okay? And eye contact. Being too intent with your glare can sometimes be off-putting. And things like lots of intense growling. A lot of people think that that's a positive thing. Actually, there's a point where that also is a level of insecurity. If a dog's growling and being really vocal, think about it from a dog behavioural point of view, there's a level of insecurity. I want almost that real silent, like tugging, using their weight to pull back, and then wanting to possess it, get the whole toy in their mouth. That's a really good indication of confidence. The dog wanting to drive back to me and almost bully me into playing with them again. All those things are telling me the dog is not only comfortable and confident with me, but the dog really, really wants the toy, which means then when I use it as reinforcement, it's going to have an effect and it's going to be powerful, okay? Fifth thing is, and this all ties in together, is body posture, okay? So, when you're talking about playing with your dogs, think about not being initially too upright. Again, chaser toys are great for that. You can create distance. I like to start initially playing with my puppies on the floor, or any dog that I start with on the floor, and not being too overbearing, not looming over them. Again, that can apply pressure on them and they may want to create distance from you. Grabbing at them, bending over them, etc. And that towering can be pressure on the dog. All these things are things to consider and to be mindful of. The more mindful you are of your dog's point of pressure, and what the dog perceives as pressure, and that's the critical thing, the dog perceives as pressure, will help you mould play to a point of where it can be used as reinforcement. Your dog body posture can be if you're too upright. I was giving feedback to one of my clients this week, in that he's a very confident person, he's a very confident dog trainer, but his dog is a little bit soft when it comes to play. So his natural inclination is to be his posture's excellent, he's a very good handler in terms of his deportment, but that to a dog when you're playing can be a point of pressure. So you need to soften your body, allow yourself to be a bit give and take with the toy, allow the dog to drag you around, again averting eye contact, let the dog win, make your posture small. Again, if you are inhibited physically and can't do all that, be creative. Sit on the floor, sit on a chair, use a chair like one of the office chairs that spins around. That allows you to create a bit of motion, yeah? A great way to adapt if you can't have the flexibility to move up and down, you can move round and round. Again, think about the toy that you use. one that creates motion so that you don't have to, okay? Critical thing with when you're building play is only do tiny little bits. Don't ask for too much for too soon, all right? So these are 5 of the points. I'm just going to recap those again. First one, and the agenda is to create committed and interactive play. First one is the type of toy that you use. Consider the type of toy that's going to create motion and is in itself interacting and interesting to the dog. Those toys are great. They're fluffy, they're bright coloured, so it's going to draw your dog's attention. That's another thing. Think about the colour and the texture of the toy. Certainly in the surface that you're working with, yeah, that's definitely relevant. If you use a toy that's too thin and it's flat on the ground, there's a chance the dog's going to, when it picks it up, for example, if it's like this pen, it's going to hit its mouth and therefore could potentially put a soft dog off, I should say. So you want a toy that might be raised off the ground. If you're working in a sand school, think of the type of toy that you use. Again, the fluffy toys, not so great because they hold dirt, which then if your dog is reluctant to tug and it gets a mouthful of dirt, it could take it as an aversive. So be mindful, okay? Percentage of possession. I have it, you have it, we share it, yeah? Remember those 3 things and taper them to so that they're appropriate for your dog, and that's the critical thing. And don't be afraid to trial and error. Sometimes you might feel that the dog needs to win more, and then you do that in a session and you realise actually it needs to be moved on. I can progress it. The goal is to have all those 3 things in almost equal proportion, so that you can be really interesting and creative within your game. Sometimes the dog wins it, then it brings it back to me, then I snatch it off them and run away, etc, etc. All right. Proximity to body. Again, dogs often won't bring toys back close to you because it could either be learned, and there's a natural tendency of, if the dog wants to possess the toy, they're not going to then bring it back to you in order to share it. They want to take it and trophy it away from you. So proximity to the body can be off-putting to some dogs. Again, you need to be mindful of that and incorporate that into your play session, and also consider it when you are introducing play to a young dog. Eye contact. Again, eye contact can, with a lot of dogs, again, that can be a trigger for, if you think of dog-to-dog aggression, a dog just staring intently at another dog can cause a reactive moment. So eye contact is something that dogs can often be sensitive to, so you need to be mindful of that when you're playing. Too strong eye contact or direct eye contact can be off-putting to dogs that are reluctant to play. Think about that. You look away from them 45 degrees, peripheral vision. Okay? Body posture. Again, think about it not being too upright. If you can, get on the floor. Again, think about your body being small, creating your body, holding your shoulders away, averting eye contact, so that you're sending an invitation to the dog to come closer to you. If I was to turn away and invite my puppy this way, the chances are they're going to come closer to me, which allows me to make physical contact and then create the understanding of bringing toys towards me. Okay? So, very quick, these are 5 of 10 key points to consider when you are playing with your dog and starting the process of creating play with your dog, with the agenda of creating it to be committed and interactive. Whether you do sports or whether you just want to have a stronger bond with your dog, for me, play is a fundamental part of that dynamic to create a really strong social bond. I want my dog to see me as fun. I want them to see me as somebody that is safe to be around, again, via the medium of play. I want them to trust me that I can make physical contact with them and I can pat them and touch them and interact with them and push them away, and they have the confidence to come close to me and make physical contact with me, and they find it reinforcing. That's really important for me. Okay? So, I'm going to just check if there's any questions on my laptop before I will do demos with both of my puppies. Okay? So bear with me. Let's have a look. Alright, good. Alright, so hopefully if you have any questions, I know there's questions posted in the comments. Sometimes there's a delay when I see them if it's live. I will pick them up if I haven't. I'm going to bring the puppies in, one of the puppies in, change the orientation, and I'm going to do a little live demo. So, yeah, if there's any questions, post them on the thread. I will pick them up when I start the next session. And yeah, so I'll show you a bit with both my puppies. So see you shortly. Okay, hi everybody. I'm back with the puppy, and I'm going to just go through some play with her. So just to, obviously I'm going to go through this relatively quickly with her, because I would only do little tiny short sessions. Hopefully you guys can see me. Let me just check. Oh, I hit my bumps. What do you think? Okay, so somebody's with me. Okay, so I'm going to just swipe those. Okay, so I'm going to be working on just again play. So it's really, really important, certainly at her age, that I do sessions, okay, where there is no, I say, agenda in terms of, I'm not training anything specific, I'm just really relationship building and playing for the sake of play. I do those with her lots throughout the day. It's really, really important so that she's learning that I'm really super fun and that we're bonding and she can sit on my lap and chew the toy, etc. That's really, really important. So initially if I was playing, I'd pick somewhere that was relatively quiet so that I could have her focus and concentration on me. Certainly at this time, that's really, really probably easy to find places that are relatively isolated or secluded, given the restrictions that we have. So there is always a silver lining. Obviously we have this space that I can train in. If not, we'll start in my living room and not have any other dogs or other distractions around, just to try and again start the ball rolling with creating that want. So I'm going to show you some of, obviously you've seen with previous slides, she does have really nice play, but I'm going to just mix up the toys that I use. So I'm going to first tease her a little bit. Yeah! So she responds nicely to the tug. So I'm again letting her move away from me, okay, and activating it as she tugs on it. Yeah, so let her pull back, and yes, I'm going to let her, when she pulls back a little bit, I'm going to let her win. Whoa. Yeah, and then see if she's running back to me. I'm using my hands slapping on the ground to encourage her to chase my hands. Yeah, that was good. Fussing her when she brings it back. Oh, that was so good. Hey, yeah. Using baby talk to encourage her back. Oh, you missed it. So if she loses it, I just activate it again, yeah? So this is a great toy. So as she grows, I can let her move away from me, and confidence if she was a dog that relaxed confidence. And it's great for when I move on to standing up. Okay, I can play with her without having to bend over her and therefore apply pressure to her. So I'm touching her. Okay, she didn't like it when she'd always let go when you touched her like on her rib cage. And I think it was because she thought you were going to pick her up. So she would let go in anticipation of being picked up. So I've been working on that, so now she will hang on to it when I touch her and pat her. Oh yes, I'm touching her and I'm moving it side to side. Really good. And I little tugs on it. Yeah, good. And releasing and yay, and encouraging her back to me. Yeah, at this stage again, I'm not grabbing at the toy. Now we're so clever. So I'm fussing her and stroking her. Whoa, you lost it. She loses it. I play again. Yeah. So the goal is to have her want to possess the toy, and I can sneak up to her with it. Get that tugger. So she's starting to now get into my hands, and again I showed you that the other day. Good. Thank you. Good. So let's switch toys. Good. That was fun. So we're going to change to one of the others. Make some noise to get her interest. Let her have some misses. Again, I'm flapping it around deliberately to get her engaged in the toy. Hey. So again, let her win it, let her drive it back to my hand. We have both had contact on it. She's moving it around, I'm moving it around. I can intensify that depending on how she responds. So again, with some dogs, I would just have one fingertip pressure on the toy, yeah? You missed it. She's a little bit more confident. She quite likes it when you play a bit strong with her. Yes. Good. Yeah. Good. And letting her bring it back to my hand. She likes to do that, so I can engage. I can touch her nose, touch her face. Got your face. Right your face. So I like to do that well. Grab at the face, but not touch the toy sometimes. Just to, again, get the dog confident with me touching them. Again, I'm patting. You lost it. Yeah, tickle her chest. So I'm just getting her really confident with me making physical contact with her. Yeah, she's so clever. She's so clever. Yay! And then having a little fuss where she comes on my lap. Oh, super clever. So letting her drive away from my hand. So again, creating a bit of resistance there. I'm going to get you. Pretending to snatch at it and Yeah, getting her to drive her back to my hand. Let's swap toys now. One more. And get that one, switch. Yeah, good. That one, that's it, good. So teaching her again a switch cue. Denise covered that with her puppy, which was really, really good. I teach all of mine to drop the toy and come on to another toy. Again, it's a reward-specific marker, which I can use later on. Getting her to drive back. Again, I'm on the floor, okay? Initially, I can stand up. You'll see that with Jungle, I can obviously stand up with her. Hey, whoop, whoop. Yay. So not diving in. When she does those little bounces away, where she's just a little bit, she's not quite driving into my hand, I don't lurch at the toy. So I just move my hand and see if I can create a little bit of interest, or falling over it, and I might even touch her paws. So again, just interacting. Oh, you missed it. Yeah! Yeah! So pretending to grab at the toy but not, and then just putting my finger in the toy and touching it, and again interacting again. Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh. So a little bit of movement there. Oh, yes! So again, bringing my hands over her head, yeah, and fussing her, so she's getting confidence with, oh, my contact, oh, you lost it, you lost it, you lost it, good girl, whee! So I can do some little chase games, whee! So I'm creating resistance when she has to drive into my hand, whee! And again, where is it? Oh, so she's got to fight past my hand, so that's just building drive, again, good boy, you can't get it, you can't get it, yeah, there it is, good girl. So a little bit of resistance. Eventually that will progress to me holding her off the toy. Yeah! Yes. And I can be quiet. And I can snatch the toy away! Whee! So again, build up the excitement of not always being highly active. Again, I'm on the floor, so my movement is limited, but that's really, really key. So again, building in a trigger there. Yeah! So that little heavy breathing bit. Got it! Nice. Good. So again, I can progress to using that later on. So just some little ideas there for play. Good. Yay! That'll do. Well done. Switching her off at the end. Well done. That was clever. And I don't mind what she does with it now. That was super. That was so good. He was clever. Good girl. So if I say that my end cue, we finished our session, I tend not to engage with the toy with them. I just fuss the dog. She can do what she likes. She can take it off. She can wander. As far as I'm concerned, our little training sessions there is finished, and she can be a dog. Hey, Pop. Yay. I quite like them to do this, where they go all soft, and they have a little bit of interaction with me just without the toy. Yeah, you're so clever. That was good. Good. Well done, Bubba. Okay, and then I just sweetly put the toy away. Yeah, good girl. Well done. So, you're all done. You can go. So I'm just going to come over and have a look if there's any questions, and she can pop around for a second. Okay, that's it. All done. And she can be a dog for a moment. So let's have a look. Any questions? Let's just have a look on my laptop. Okay, let's have a look. Any questions? And then I will switch dogs. Just bear with me. Okay, so Faye Brooks asked, any tips for dogs that aren't interested in toys at all? Range of types of toys tried, and once you put food in, chase, tried, etc. Okay, so Faye, think laterally about what you use. So don't just be intent on using a toy. So you can use a plastic bottle, you know, a hose pipe, bits of paper, anything. And the other thing is try play when the dog is excited. So before they go for a walk, good girl, is a good time to start to introduce play. When the dog's a little bit more animated, you might get a response. If the dog is greedy, it's possible also to transfer the dog's desire for food onto toys. You can do that by using the treat as a, which you did, in terms of putting treats inside the toy. What I would do is actually tie a bit of food to a bit of string and get the dog first wanting to chase the food on a bit of string. Then I would put like a sock, put it in a sock, use that and build it from there. And also the other thing is look at your mechanics. Think about those points of pressure, because there could be a point of where you're inadvertently affecting the way or the dog's wanting to play. So one of the key things that I suggest to people whose dogs don't that don't have strong play is to video themselves when they play. Let me just grab my coffee, bear with me. Good girl, we can sit and just read me you. So yes, so you can video your oh, sorry, I just think something. Okay, so video your training sessions and note those things that could inadvertently put pressure on the puppy. But yeah, try those things and see how you get on. Again, the thing about play, play with some dogs takes time. With my German Spitz, it took really about a year for me to build his play up to the point of where it was really strong enough. I think you might want to go out. Can you go out? Bear with me. Pop her out. Pop her. Oh, she's not going out that door. Good girl. You don't want to go out. Good girl. Do you want to go the other door? Oh, what was that? Good girl. So, what was that about? Good girl. So, yeah, with play, I don't know whether you saw that. So I don't know why she opened the door and she went, oh, I'm not going out that door, which was very unlike her, but we will have a look at that later on. Again, puppies do little things like that. I tend not to make a massive thing of it. She's been out that door 100 times before. I don't know whether she thought I was going to pop her out and wanted to stay with me. It doesn't really matter, but she definitely was a bit concerned there. So yeah, hopefully that's given you some tips about play. Again, be patient with it, build it slowly, and take your time. I think sometimes people want too much too soon with play. All right, so let's have a look at any more questions. Fiona Sharp, I've been playing with my 8-week-old puppy. He's very bitey, solo pup, so he had not had little mates to learn from. Should I stop play or introduce a new toy game? Now, I wouldn't stop play, because you want to teach him to obviously play with you in a certain way. So I have a rule with my dogs that they're not allowed to bite my person. Bite my person or my clothing when I play. If they do, I just stop. Yeah. So if she was to bite my hand when she played, I would just stop. So Jungle is very, very naturally very bitey, which is typical for Malinois. Not now, but she certainly was. She just used to literally walk around the house. She'd grab onto my ankle or my shoe or my foot. And how I stopped it was I just stopped moving. So there was no reinforcement. I did wear my Crocs, so I knew my foot would be fine. But yeah, I basically just shaped her to stop fighting at me by stopping my motion. So it become very quickly boring to her. If she grabbed my foot, there would be no interaction. At times I would block her, so I would just intercept her. So for example, if she was like that, I would just put my hand and block her and wait for her to calm down and then release her and move off. Because again, to be truthful, she would be quite intent on it, so I have to be mindful of that. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't stop playing. Also think about the type of toy that you're using. If you use a longer toy, you don't have to then have your hands close to the toy. Again, that's a mechanical thing as well. The better you get at play, sorry, I'm just looking if there's more questions. The more competent that you become at play, the better skilled you are with essentially moving out of the way and not getting bitten and causing the dog to bite you inadvertently. That's definitely a play skill thing you want to work on. Let me just come close to the camera. Good girl, Papa. That is definitely a skill that you want to develop and work on. So again, it's practice. Yeah, practice your mechanics of moving your toy. Often people tend to move the toy into their person, or they have their hand too close to the toy. That can obviously create the puppy wanting to bite your hand. So think about that as well. All right. Let's have a look if there's any more questions. I'll just. Oh, my computer's being a bit awkward. Hopefully this is all coming out. If not, I will. Excuse me. Repost this video later on. I think there's one more question on my phone. I'm just going to come up to the screen and have a look. How do you build engagement with a puppy that just wants to take the toy off and to lay down and chew? So Andy, okay. So Andy asked the question: how do you build engagement with a pup that just wants to take the toy off to lay down and chew? So you can try 2 toys. That's a good one. You can also use your hands, get the dog into your hand. And what I often do is I'll play in a space where I can actually go up to the dog and fuss the dog. So say for example my bathroom, I'll play with my puppy in my bathroom and I will just saunter up them and fuss them. So they begin to trust that I'm not going to take the toy off them. And what I'll do is I'll move my hand around and pretend to touch the toy. And often you can create a little bit of interaction that way. So my boxer was very much like that. He just wanted to take it and possess it and wander off. He didn't really want to engage. So I used to just sit with him and just sort of tap my fingers and stroke his head, and gradually he came round to the point that now he loves to interact and play. Depending on the breed of the dog, a lot of dogs are naturally possessive and want to take the toy off. Just think about your mechanics and adapting it. Alright? Again, video your training session, see if inadvertently you're putting pressure on the toy or pressure on the dog and the play. And use, again, a longer toy so that you can be in control of it. So the dog can take the toy away, but you can jiggle it away and see if you can encourage them to come back to you. Again, 2 toys is great. With Jungle, I use a lot of, I will feed her for bringing the toy back and reinforce her for coming back with the toy, just because she naturally wants to possess it. And the possession is something that I want. I want her to want to possess the toy. So it's a little bit of a conflict between me saying to her, engage with me, and me saying engage with me, and also her wanting to engage, to possess the toy. So I've got to balance the 2 things. All right. So let's have a look. Is there any more questions? Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to pop her away. I'm going to switch dogs. I'm going to get Jungle in and show you again some more play skills to think about with a different type of dog. Good girl. So just give me a moment. And if there's any more questions on this video, just post them in the thread and I'll pick them up. Alright pups, let's go. Here we go. Hi everyone, so if you're just joining me, I've been doing this is the 3rd live on play with your dogs and all the things that you need to consider when you're creating play with your puppies or your young dogs. Again, I'm running 12 months of access to the life of my 2 puppies, Jungle and Hottie. So you've just seen Hottie being trained, that's my little Border Collie puppy, and I've got my Mally puppy in a crate at the moment. So I'm again just going to go through some play skills with her. She obviously has a little bit more understanding of some play skills. I actually have 3 toys on me. So one in my pocket, one around my neck, and one just tucked in my trousers there at the back. So I can alternate and work on her switching between toys and understanding that the toys come by me. So she does have a release cue, which I'm going to train throughout, so I'll be doing food as well within her play, and also because of the type of dog that she is, also working on impulse control and self-control within the context of play as well. So totally different type of dog. The big thing with her was she wanted to possess the toy very much and she didn't want to bring it back to me. And she wouldn't want to engage with me with the toy, so that's something I worked quite hard on. And obviously being a Malinois, she was reluctant to let go of the toy. So those are the things that I really prioritised with her, in contrast to Hottie. Hottie's much more interactive and naturally wanted to bring the toy back to me and engage with me. Jungle, not so much. But again, by just considering those points of pressure and taking my time, you can see what the play is developing into. Alright, so I'm just going to get some treats before I start. So again, just going to interact with her for a second without the toy, and then I'm going to, she has a switch on cue. Good girl, yeah. Good. And I'm going to use that to switch her on and then start to engage with her. Yes. Ready, steady. Yep. Ah, nice response, and the toy comes out. So again, you can see what she wants to do is really pull, yeah, and win and shake it. Hey, so I would do lots of trying to get her to engage with my hand. And moving away from her. Yep, good. And clicking her for good girl. Bringing it close to me, but not actually touching it. Good girl. Good. Yep, good. Good girl. So I do a lot of feeding at my feet. Good girl. So that she wants to bring that close. I talked about proximity. She is a dog that definitely didn't want to bring it close to me. Oh, teasing her. Strike. Good girl. Putting a marker cue on there, which means taking the toy from my hand, letting her win. Hey, yip. Good. So she drove it straight back there, and I'm going to feed her the opposite direction, which gives me a chance to pick the toy up again. She does understand not to snatch it until I give her permission. Good girl. Super. Good. So reinforcing that little bit of impulse control. Super. Good. Strike! Yeah! And then releasing her to get the toy. Yeah! So again, thinking about my pressure, not always looking at her, letting her when she pulls back, because that's something I'm trying to shape. So there, a little bit more to my hand. Good. Good girl. So I click back and feed her for driving the toy to my hand. Good girl. So let's now switch toys. So I'm going to deliberately put the other toy over here. Okay? And good girl. Yeah, and a new toy. So I'm starting to introduce to her that I'm the means to get the toy. That's a really good skill for toy play. Hey, you! Haha. Good. Same thing again, reinforcing her to bring it back to my hand. Good girl. Yeah, get it? So a bit of stillness. Cheetah. Strike. Yes, nice one. Good. So touching her, yeah, bringing her in, not looking at her, so that I don't then put the pressure on, letting her drag me around, letting my hand go floppy. Yeah, you're a winner. Yeah. Inviting her back to me. Good. And sometimes tossing her and not the toy. She finds that quite exciting if I touch her. She gets really, really hyped. Good. So I then clicked her for bringing the toy back. Good girl. Ready? Ready? Get it? Yes. Good girl. Yeah. Yay. Touching her. Good. And constantly clicking her for bringing the toy back. Thank you. Good. So I'm going to do a release on the toy. Strike. Yeah. Thanks. Yep. Good. So she let go of it straight away. Again, always balancing out control. So certainly with a dog like her, the proportion of play would be, we would have it, obviously seeing me letting her possess it there, but also making sure that I do quite a lot of reinforcement before I have it. How you have it. Come on. Yay. Strike. Yes, good. So I'm going to just move as well. So looking at her a little bit. Yes, good. And when she pulls back there, shaping that behaviour for hopefully what I'm going to do with her in the future. I don't really like the shaking, but I'm going to just ignore it. Yay. And she let go. Strike. Good. Yes. Yay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Good. Let's do it. Release. Thanks. Good. Super. Let's switch toys. Put that one away. Good girl. Move around. That's the new one. Yeah. So again, I wanted to understand to work for the interaction with me. Hey, you pup. And not for just to possess the toy. I want her to perceive that I'm the best thing. Yeah. Ooh, you lost it. You lost it. You lost it. Oh, where's it gone? Where's it gone? Oh, yay. Oh, yeah. Oh. Get it. Whoa. Yeah. Good. Good. So building up value for the toy when it's still. Thanks. Good. Get it. Yes. Well done. Yeah. Again, because of the footing, I have to be a little bit careful in here about doing that. That's again much better to do outside. Yay. So stroke. Good. She shouldn't let go. Good girl. So I asked her to do that. Super. So going down the ground with her. Yay. Thanks. Strike. Yeah. Good. So. Yeah. Good. Good girl. So again, doing lots of contact, yeah, building up her wanting to bring it close to me, yay! Yeah! So moving on the floor, yay! Yeah! That's better, that was a good one. So getting her to come closer to my hand. Yeah! Nice one. So again, she's trying to initiate me into the game. Whoa. Yeah! Yes! Whoa. 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 This way. Changing direction. Yeah, change direction. Whoa, and a tug. Yeah, you're the winner. You're the winner. You're the winner. You're the winner. Adding some noise. Whoa! Woo! Woo! And then testing. Woo! And then see if we can get a release on her. Thanks. Super. So again, she's just good. She got a little bit hype there. Strike with the noise. So that would be something that I can work on and adding arousal and asking her to still take you. Ready? Good. Thanks. So I'm going to just lock her. Super. Chase. Good girl. Nice. Super. Good. Thanks. Chase. Yeah. So again, she's asking permission to play. So all these little things, ways in which I can create her understanding that the play has to not only be committed, but interactive, and there's rules to the game. All right, good girl. Okay, that'll do. Well done. Again, I don't always take the toy off them when I end my session. That was good. Well done, Papa. Well done. Yeah. Good. You can have it. Good girl. Pop you in your crate. Right, good. Pop-ups. So what's going on, right? I want that one. Pop-up. I want one of them. Good girl. This way. Pop-ups. You lost it now. Good girl. Good girl. Well done. Good. Super. Alrighty. So, any questions on what I did with Jungle? I'm going to just grab my laptop. Bear with me. Let's have a look. Okay. Okay, so I've got a question from Rachel. Did you adjust toys during teething, like not using bite wedges and such? Yes. So, really, really good point to make. So, with that type of dog, with Malleys and Shepherds and stuff and Boxers, they, for some reason, they really, really get it. She certainly, the ones I've had, have got very excited by Hessian type toys. Who knows the reason? It could be a genetic thing, it could be they like the texture of it, they can get a real firm grip. So I know that those, with all the dogs that my puppies of that type, when I've introduced that type of toy, their drive has definitely got higher. So that the material in itself can cause them to be aroused. So I tended not to use those when they were young, and therefore didn't use them when they were teething. So I didn't create that, didn't have that as an issue. And also, because that material is going to be so significant to them later on, I didn't want them to be put off it. So yeah, I absolutely didn't use those when they were teething. With Hottie, I've used that little Hessian toy from the off because she didn't have the same response that Jungle did at that age. Good girl. So that's something to consider. But yes, definitely think about the toy that you use when they're teething. I tend to back off play, or I certainly don't do tugging when they're teething. I tend to do a lot when they win, and I move my hands around and they can drive it back to me. But I tend not to do intense tugging because I don't want them to be put off by it. All right? So let's have a look if there's any more questions. Let's have a look. Just do that. Oh, hang on. Okay, I think that was the only question on that. I'm just going to check on my phone, bear with me. So, let's have a look. Oh, hang on. Where are you guys gone? Okay, I think that is all the questions. No, so no tugging. Oh, one more at the end there. So no tugging during teeth. Not for me. I tend not to tug with them when they teeth, because if the dog pulls out a teeth or it's got a sore mouth, I could inadvertently be putting them off tugging. So I tend not to tug with them. They can tug with me. If I have a toy and they bring it to my hand and they try and drive it, I pretend tug. So I let it slip through my fingers. But generally speaking, I don't do tugging excessively when they are teething. you know, there is always an exception to the rules. You know, I can remember distinctly Thriller didn't care. But I would always be cautious and I would always be mindful. Okay? I do think yes, sometimes, yeah. Yeah, definitely. If the dog's showing you that he's uncomfortable, Rachel, then back off. Otherwise, you could, because biting is going to be so important for him, my advice is play on the side of caution and certainly don't tug with him. If he wants to play and interact, and there's other ways in which you can interact. You can see I can create her wanting to interact with me without the need to incessantly tug on her. And again, I'd say a lot of people, certainly tugging mechanics, you know, there's so many skills that you can develop without the need to physically touch the toy. Yeah? Okay. Good. All right, I think that's all the questions. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you found it interesting to cover, again, the initial lecture, talking about points of pressure, those 5 things to consider. Again, if you haven't seen that live, just go back, I'll post the video later on. And then seeing how I physically do that with my puppy, Border Collie puppy, and with my Malinois puppy, and the differences between the 2 things, and how I mould from one to the other. He attacks the vacuum cleaner, okay, that's management. Okay, all right, so again, if you are interested in seeing more similar videos like this, sign up for the Jungle Book. Again, I'll post the link later on in my Facebook page, where you're going to be able to see me train these 2 dogs for the next 12 months and deal with all the things that will inevitably crop up about the issues that we'll have. At some point, they're both going to have issues that I will have to deal with and work through, behavioural issues and issues within their training, and the ways in which I resolve those. So if you're interested, sign up. Those of you that have, thank you very much. Again, share the videos in the original post and you could be in to win a supplement. And thank you for the first 3, certainly the 3 that signed up. I will arrange for your toys to get to you as soon as possible. All right, everybody, stay safe, look after yourselves, and hopefully I shall see you again shortly. Take care, bye.